Usopp. He's one of my favorite One Piece characters, but I don't know if it's just me, but there's something about this man. Like, I don't know, it just feels like there's something behind him that we don't know about yet. And I think I figured out what that thing is. I think Usopp is Uranus. Yeah, get your laughs out now. But let's make a deal. If by the end of this video, I even change your mind just a little bit to consider Usopp being Uranus, you drop a sub and you drop a like. Deal? Okay, let's get into it. Now, of course, we gotta talk about Usopp's lies. Now, this man lies about every single thing, bro. Like, this man's whole first arc was about him lying all the time. He was basically the boy who cried wolf. He lied to Gaia, talking about how he fought a giant sea fish that had poop as big as islands. And in the same chapter, he lies to Gaia again, saying that he went to an island for little people. Wait, hold up. Wait a second.
Wait a minute.
These weren't lies, cause they actually did come true later on in the story. Usopp did go on to go to an island full of little people. Usopp did see a fish, a gigantic fish, that had poop as big as islands. But I'm not surprising anyone because we all know that Usopp's lies come true. And although I will admit that Usopp does lie a lot, I also think that this man just has this ability of premonitions. For example, Usopp looked at Luffy's bounty of 30 million berries and originally thought that it was for him and not Luffy. And then we go on to see that Usopp gets the exact same bounty later on in the story for 30 million berries. And one last premonition that may be a little bit of a stretch. Usopp always says he has 8,000 followers, and we see in Dressrosa him finally starting to build up all these followers. So why is this relevant? Well, simply put, it's because Uranus. Uranus, the Greek god in mythology, had premonitions as well. And why is this relevant? Well, because all the One Piece ancient weapons has ties to the original Greek mythology foundings. Pluton comes from Hades, and Pluton is a ship of mass destruction. Poseidon gets his name from the sea god Poseidon in Greek mythology, and Poseidon is able to communicate with creatures capable of mass destruction. So if we're going to prove that Usopp is the ancient weapon Uranus, we gotta prove that he has ties to the original Uranus Greek mythology story. But don't worry, because premonitions isn't the only thing that Uranus and Usopp has in common. So let's talk about Uranus. Uranus basically has the power to control the weather. He controls the sky and the air around the sky. So why does this matter? One word, Nami. Now, Nami has her weapon, the Climate Tempo, which basically controls the weather. And I know that I'm going to get a lot of backlash in the comments saying that the best contender for Uranus at the moment is Nami. But I say to them that they forgot one little thing. The one who created Nami's Climate Tempo wasn't Nami. It was Usopp. And furthermore, we don't ever get an explanation of how Usopp created this weapon that controls the weather. It's mostly treated as a joke and no one really questions it in the One Piece fandom. But if you look at it blatantly, Usopp created a weapon that controls the weather, and that gives him ties to the ancient weapon Uranus, because Uranus is the god of the skies and he can control the weather. And wait, we're not done there. Believe me, the theory's not over because I know you're not convinced just yet. But would you believe me if I said that Oda has actually foreshadowed Usopp being Uranus previously in the story? One of my favorite foreshadowings is this panel right here. It's basically Usopp being held up above crowds of people and they're saying that he was sent to us from above. And that's bolded because it's important. It's saying that he's not with us on this human realm. He's exceeded this. He's in a sense godly compared to these mortal people. And this makes sense because if Usopp is Uranus, then he would be in that godly section. But you know another interesting thing? In Greek mythology, they say that Uranus is the Greek personification of heaven. And you know what else they say in this panel? They say that the light of heaven shines down. But you're still not convinced that Usopp is Uranus? Don't worry, I got some more foreshadowing from Oda. So for this part, we're going into the Greek mythology, and we just have to pose a question. Does Uranus have a father? And when you look into this question, you see that there's 3 different answers, all very relevant answers to this series of One Piece. And the most boring version of the story is that Uranus grew up fatherless, another fatherless child, just like a special someone that we're talking about in this video. Another version is that Uranus' father was Aether, who was also called the Light of Heaven. And remind me again, what did that panel say? But let's get to the last answer, because this answer is actually my favorite. This answer says that Uranus actually had a father named Akmon. And you want to know why I love this answer so much? It's because Akmon is said to be a monkey-shaped man who loved to play practical jokes and even finesse his way out of dying one time by making Hercules laugh. Now, I got a question. Who does that sound like to you? Because to me, that sounds like Monkey D. Luffy. But you're still not convinced. Well, let's talk about Usopp's story always being connected to Greek mythology. Homie trained with Hercules. Homie's arc is gonna be the Elbaf arc, an arc full of giants. And giants are relevant to Greek mythology because giants are created in Greek mythology by Uranus' blood touching the earth. And that's another thing. Uranus is married to Gaia, which is another version of Earth in the Greek mythology. And you know what's funny? Usopp's only love interest of far seems to be Kaya from his hometown. And maybe this is just wordplay, but these 2 names sound very similar. Kaya and Gaia. Say it with me. Kaya, Gaia. Kaya, Gaia. Now, maybe that's foreshadowing or maybe that's just coincidence. But you want to know what's also interesting? On Skypiea, an island that's literally in the sky, a perfect place for Oda to foreshadow Usopp being Uranus because Uranus is the god of the sky. There's a statue of Usopp on this island, and statues in One Piece is something that's very rarely made. There isn't even another crew member on Luffy's crew that has a statue, not even Luffy himself. And the fact that this statue was put on Skypiea of all the islands and places that it could have been made. And this statue says Dendoshi Usopp, which means Evangelist Usopp, which obviously has some type of connection to godliness. And the last, most oblivious evidence I can give you is Usopp's name in the bounties being changed from Sogeking to God Usopp. It's right in your face. Oda's laughing at us that no one's really talking about this. He is foreshadowing that Usopp is Uranus. So, did I convince you? And if I did, remember our deal at the beginning of the video. And if you guys aren't convinced, leave a comment why. So, here's a video on the current bounties on One Piece. If you want to see more content from me, just watch that, and I'll catch y'all later. Deuces.